And it's back. Hey, everybody. Yeah, Shane, it feels like we're so close to the season. I think I saw something today. We're 50 days from the start of the NFL season, 54 days from the start of the Bears season. Obviously, they're opening up on Monday night against the Minnesota Vikings on Monday Night Football. It's one of those things, too. I was sitting there, we usually go out there. We have a watch party. We do all that stuff. And I was telling the guy of the place that we're going, and I go, oh, yeah, it's a Monday night game. Fired up. So we're already getting ready for that. Training camp just around the corner. So much good stuff is happening. Although I would like to see our second round pick sign. I don't know. That's one of the things, we've nailed the first round where unless you're a fan of the Cincinnati Bengals, you don't have to worry about your first round pick holding out. Now it's the second round picks holding out. But you know what? It's just one of those things where they're doing the dance and eventually everybody will be in camp and ready to go. And speaking of ready to go, Shane, let's go ahead and start the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Adam Ray.
It's Hester trying to work it back to the middle. Gets past the first wave, and here he goes. It's Hester. Inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
The sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's going to be sick.
All right, it's Wednesday night. You know what that means. It is time for Take It to the Rank. A great night of sports and sports talk. We got Take It to the Rank right now. The Tape Never Lies Network will be joining, or will be going on in a couple of, in an hour or so after this is off the air. And of course, we've got AEW, a lot of cool stuff. The challenge is back on July 30th. I can't wait for that. It's going to be pretty good. Matter of fact, I talked to Mark Long today with John Brennan and Beth. I joined them briefly on a podcast. That was pretty cool. But we're sitting here, though. We're going to talk some Chicago Bears, and even though we missed him last week as we took a trip to Fantasy Island, we're going to welcome back right now from CHGO, our co-host for the evening. He's here every Wednesday night. Give it up for Greg Braggs. There it is. There it is. Welcome back to the show. I guess you only missed a week, but still.
You said give it up for Greg Braggs, and I was like, all right, let's
give it up. Give it up for that guy. We like Greg Braggs.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you being here as always. How you living?
Feeling good. We talked earlier, so I, revealed to you that I broke 90 for the first. You're trying to break 80.
Yeah,
that's your goal for the summer, and I'm rooting for you in your endeavors. And as we do in every Wednesday show, we start with golf, and I broke 90 for the first time this summer. I was starting to really feel like I'm getting in my groove, so I want to hit 18 more tomorrow. See if I can top it.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. I did. My last outing was, I don't remember the final number. It was 85, 84, somewhere in that range. But I had a 40 on the front nine, including going in the water twice.
Oh, wow.
On one was a great shot that just had a little bit of a bad luck. And then one I just duffed. Trying to be too fun, trying to get through the kikuyu grass, and just thought I could carry the water and could not. But had a 40, and I was actually texting one of my friends like, hey, breaking 80s in play, and we're playing Meadowlark. I was playing with one of our listeners, Captain Scott Winks, Hayden Winks' dad, in case you're asking. Is that the guy? Yeah, yep, that's who it is. And so I texted my buddy. I go, because I destroy the back nine at Meadowlark. I'm like, dude, I might break 75. And I think it was closer to 85. But still, the grind is real. And love doing it. And we love having you here. And it feels like football's back. I feel like now we're starting to get into our groove for the football season with training camp right around the corner. Yep. We do have a little bit of news on our own because Monday nights, if you followed along last season, I was a regular part of CHGO After Dark on Mondays. We're going to do that again. When are we coming back on Monday nights, Greg? Because I don't know. Am I starting Monday? I always feel like I have to ask you at the last second, are we going tonight? When do we come back? When does the After Dark start on Monday nights?
As we like to do, especially at CSU, everything is a last minute ordeal. So, we are starting back up on July 28th here coming up. And that's right. Phil and Shane,
Wait,
where we broke the news, I think last Wednesday on TTNL. Here last week. And so I think
wait,
Phil,
am I still on the show?
I know Phil put together this graphic.
Phil put together this graphic, and I'm not.
You know, the three families are coming together, but he left one of the families off.
What is this? What is this disrespect?
I know, and not to mention, like, you know, it's like these real caricature pictures of them, and then you've got the pale version of me. That, you know, they that's from CHGO, but it looks weird next to them because they don't have like the drawing picture.
They put real production value into Phil and Shane, and then one of the twins drew yours.
Yeah. I don't, you know, so
but at least you're included. Like I wasn't even not even an afterthought. Like I'm like, yeah, like the TTNL plus CHGO. I saw this and I'm like, oh, I didn't know it was because like a lot of times you hear about players who are like, hey, I found out I was being traded by being online.
Right.
And I saw it trending on Twitter. And then I saw this on Instagram or Facebook. And I'm like, oh, I'm not on After Dark now? I'm like, oh, whatever. I'm like, maybe that's why. Great. And I had not.
I guess the story goes with Bruce Arians that he was in a hotel in Lake Forest when he was interviewing with the Bears, thought he was going to get the job. And then that night it was announced, you know, the news broke that Mark Trestman was getting the job. And he was just like, oh, so you got Bruce Arians here, which did bode well for the Bears. So if you got Bruce Arians here, then that's not going to bode well for our program.
You know, I know that it doesn't matter. And we're going to get to some sound of Caleb Williams here in a second. But whenever people talk about the biggest what ifs, what if, you know, Rex Grossman didn't have baby hands and could hold on to the ball in the rain? What if they didn't trade Greg Olson? What if Jay Cutler didn't get hurt in the NFC Championship game? Things like that. I think that Bruce Arians one, of all the things, that's the one where I turn into the meme of the guy on the swing, just sitting there like, that was one of the biggest fumbles of all time. I think that of everything that's gone on ever, I think that might have been the biggest bag fumbling in the history of the Bears. What about you?
Well, the Bears have had some pretty bad ones, right?
There's some tough ones.
You know, I think
not starting Harbaugh in the, the 86 playoffs or 88 playoffs, something like that. Mike North would know. I don't remember.
Well, and then of course the infamous 2017 draft where the Bears chose Mitch Trubisky over.
All right.
I'm just saying.
I think that's salvageable. But a lot of it, like a lot of that stuff doesn't happen if we hire Bruce Arians. Like it's a moot point. Like I think Jay Cutler plays for a couple extra seasons. He probably has a lot of fun. They're probably out doing their thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Jay Cutler's a Super Bowl quarterback at some point. Who knows?
Yes, but going back to it, starting here on July 28th, and then every Monday leading all the way to the season, CHGO Bears After Dark is going back to Monday nights. I know for those of you that tune into our programming at CHGO, we've been doing After Darks on Thursdays with Lance Briggs and Jerry Azuma. That show, as we announced last week with the arrival of Adam Johns, will turn into the Brick by Brick show. So that's going to be that's going to be pretty exciting. We'll be starting that next Thursday with new branding going on with Briggs and Azuma. And that'll still be on Thursdays. And then on Monday nights, as it was all of last season, CHGO Bears After Dark with Adam Rank from the Sick Podcast. And of course, our guys from the Tape Never Lies Network, Phil Atoshin and Shane Marsaw. So we're going to be having a lot of fun. Bringing the three families together, as Adam likes to say. And, there will never be a dull moment between the four of us. So I'm excited to get into it. And obviously football season, rookies report Saturday, Poles and Ben Johnson speak to the media on Tuesday. And first practices, closed practices on Wednesday. And then next Friday is the first open practice, and away we go. So it is going to come quickly. And this football season now will be here in a blink. I know you said 50 days, but with training camp and all the preseason games between that, it's going to go by in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, I think for the casuals, they're like, oh, 50 days, I've got time. But you're like, no, we got training camps, we got fantasy drafts, we have so many things going on that it's pretty much started and we're pretty
Right.
much there ready to go. And recently on NFL.com, there was a clip published with Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson talking about the relationship. And again, as we were sitting here opening up the show, talking about things that have gone wrong in the history of the Chicago Bears, I think right now we're at a moment of time where what we've wanted to happen happened, where you got Caleb Williams, you got Ben Johnson. It's no guarantee that it's going to work out, but I think that if we look back at this, let's say, regardless of what happens, 20 years from now, it's not going to be a thing of like, oh, I can't believe we did this, because this is exactly what we wanted the Bears to do. There's no second guessing. There's nobody. There'll be like 4 people be like, oh, I told you we should stop it. This is exactly what we wanted to be, the spot that we wanted to be in, whether it reaches the expectations that we have or not. That's to be seen. That story is yet to be untold, but we do have some sound. So Shane, if you can roll that video of Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson, we'd appreciate it.
So I ended up getting a call from Poles and Kevin and Ted and George, all been on the same line, and said, congrats, we got our coach. I gave off a nice little, I guess you can say, roar or a yell while I was driving, off of pure excitement.
There's no doubt Caleb played a large component into my decision for not only the talent level that he possesses, but also the type of person he is. This is going to be, really, I like to fancy it, the quarterback's offense.
Let's go, baby. Yeah, let's do it.
We are going to tailor this right around Caleb Williams. It will not be necessarily what you've seen from me the last 3 years. We're going to find out exactly what our quarterback does well, and that's really what we're going to anchor on.
Floats the ball down the field, and Swift caught the ball!
Where I see my role is as a supporter of him. This offense will be calibrated with him in mind.
You know, every time I hear them talk, and I know we're not covering new ground, but like I get more fired up. And I think that, again, there's no guarantees that something is going to be a success, but I've never been this confident. And I'm usually a very confident person when it comes to the Chicago Bears. I've never felt more confident. When you see stuff like that, does it just get the juices flowing for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, as Adam Johns said early in the week, if this doesn't work, and you hate to preface it by saying that, but I mean, truly, I mean, talk about pushing all your eggs in this basket where number 1 pick from last year, this top, head coaching candidate, one of the top play callers in the league the last 3 or 4 years, up there with the Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVays, Kevin O'Connells of the world. Ben Johnson is right there in that group, if not been above those guys just from a play calling standpoint. I know he still has some things to prove as a head coach, but yeah, I mean, when he talks about this is going to be the quarterback's offense building out from the things he does well, he's also mentioned, in other clips where he's, I need the quarterback to see it through the play caller's eyes. So there's going to be that connection and symmetry that these two need to have. But you're certainly, it's encouraging. And it's certainly the way this went through the summer. It seems like they're all on the same page. And Ben Johnson has kind of really just started to assert himself, with this locker room and how he wants to lead. And I guess we'll find out at training camp how much these guys are responding.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be able to hide it when we go out there and we see it coming to fruition. And I know that people are going to be there like, hey, temper expectations. Don't expect a quick turnaround, all that kind of stuff. But I said it, I don't know if I said it on this show. I know I've said it somewhere else. If we're sitting here in that Monday Night Football game, and if the Bears offense struggles in the first half, I am going to drive over to Sears. I am going to purchase about $600 worth of Craftsman wrenches. I'm going to put them in my pocket, and then I'm going to walk off the Huntington Beach Pier. And then that'll be the last you ever see of me. Because that's how much I've put into this. That'll be it for me. Maybe, I don't know. You'll have to do this by yourself on that Wednesday, of course.
Well, just make sure you get it, have somebody video it, because it's got to be for the content if you're going to go out like that. I think the other part of that I think was my favorite was when they revealed Caleb Williams got the call. and he let out a roar. It made me think of, because he got the phone call, the prank call. Remember through this process, he got a prank call, and somebody was saying it was these kids, right? That said that Ben Johnson was going to be the next Bears coach, and he got faked out by it. He talked about it on the St. Brown Brothers podcast.
Yeah.
And so when he said, he got the official call, it made me think of Adam Sandler and Big Daddy when he's like, we wasted the good surprise on you. That's what that reminded me of. He's like, getting faked out again, but certainly exciting. Excited for the real surprises to come out here at training camp and when the season begins. Cause I think when you look at this team and all the components they have, especially when you look at that offensive line, if they can come together fairly quickly, and it's, constituted of a lot of veterans on that line, and we'll see how the left tackle position plays out. But, because there isn't, 2/3 or 3/5 of that offensive line is like a first or second year player, you got a lot of veterans in there. They should be able to come together quicker than other offensive lines. And when you have, this play caller trying to institute what he's going to do, from a, offensive system perspective, you have to think that this could get going a little faster than some are anticipating. I think it just all comes down to how quickly Caleb Williams can kind of take control of the first phase of this offense.
I just like the fact that we're not sitting here trying to be like, well, we hope that so-and-so can make the switch over to center, or this guy's playing out of position doing this, or whatever this is. The fact that we're just worried about like, well, it's either going to be Braxton Jones returning from an injury or Ozzie Trapillo going out there and starting at the left tackle position, left tackle. That's fine. I mean, like every team in the NFL has issues on the offensive line. The Chiefs went to the Super Bowl last year with Joe Thuney playing left tackle. Right now, as it's constructed, the 4/5 of the Bears offensive line looks really good. And if we got to sit here and figure out through training camp and through playing who the left tackle is going to be, I'm here for that conversation. I feel like the one that was the most detrimental going back to the time of the aforementioned Mitch Trubisky is like, we never had a center. We never had a guy who like, this is it. This is our center. We're good. No, but it's always been like Ryan Patrick or like Cody Whitehair or somebody, and then trying to figure it out on the fly.
Right.
We don't have to worry about that.
No, for me, it's like when you look at, all eyes are going to be on Braxton Jones, Karan Amagaji, and Ozzie Trapillo out of Boston College. And so I've said throughout the summer, I just hope somebody can take and win that job as opposed to someone winning that job by default. But let's just play out the scenario that it is somebody winning that job by default, and none of them are really going out and taking it through just being way better than the guys next to them. You have Joe Thuney standing next to you. Yeah. Like teams are going to have flaws. Not every, if it all works out and Ozzie Trapillo is this mammoth left tackle, the next coming of Kyle Long, like great. But if he's not or if you're just at the level of what Braxton Jones has been the last few years, it's not perfect, but you have Joe Thuney standing next to you. So I just have to think in that scenario that they'll be able to hold it down much better than what we've seen the last few years from the offensive line.
No, and there is something to it too, of having the leadership next to you, which makes these daunting situations much more manageable. And just watching, like I got into this thing where I finally, like over Memorial Day, I was watching Band of Brothers and watching that show, and I finally was I quite embarrassingly had never really watched it. And actually sat down and binged the whole thing. And it's now going to be like a Memorial Day tradition and do this. And then I ended up going and watching the Pacific. But you see this, and I know that I'm using a life and death example, but NFL players and NFL coaches always like, this is a battle. We're going to war every Sunday. But you could see like these recruits who are like there with Captain Dick Winters are like much more comfortable when that person is leading the way and they're leading from the front, not from behind. There is something similar with the NFL personnel and with guys on the offensive line. Like Joe Thuney was just gunning for his third consecutive Super Bowl. Now he's standing next to me, trying to help me be the best player that I can possibly be. And I don't think that people are understanding that enough. I know that, listen, it's a lot more entertaining to go watch a flag football clip and be like, this player is better than Caleb Williams, than to actually sit here and delve into facts. But I do feel really good about it. And I do feel like when we go through there and we watch it and we listen to these guys, that we're going to get to where Bears fans want to go, and what you want to eventually be is crowned as a Super Bowl champion. And speaking of crowned, all right, listen, fantasy football is fun and all, but you know what's better than winning your league? Ruling it. That's why Crown Champs dropped the hottest thing fantasy's ever seen, a real handcrafted premium championship crown, like Game of Thrones level royalty. And that is for the dude who picked Puka Nacua off waivers, and you don't need to mortgage your house to get one of these. Listen, for just $2.99 per month per person in your league, you can go out there and get one of these cool crowns. It's less than what you're spending on your fifth string tight end. Or you know what you can do? If you're like, I can't pay for this, you like free stuff. Have you ever noticed when I do this on social media and I'll put up a photo of a mallet cover and be like, oh, this would be great to have. If you want to be one of those people that doesn't pay, go to the Crown Champs app and you can use points and win weekly challenges and get voted as a king or queen trash talker and unlock real life merch. And we're talking about the crowns. They got rings, scepters, robes. You can have a robe. I think I want to play for a robe. The crown is cool. The crown is super dope. The robe is what looks cool. So go do that. Stop playing for bragging rights. Play for a crowned with Crowned Champs, one of our newest sponsors. Really excited. Their stuff is legit. I know that everybody's been doing belts for years, but the Crown Champ, the crown, that's pretty cool. It is though. You'll have to have a very supportive partner who's like, hey, you gotta do some sweet talk, because it's gonna go somewhere in the house. For me, I've already got a spot picked out for it, but it's one of those things. In any event, thank you. Braggs, how many do you play fantasy at all? We've never really talked about this, because I know that when we were doing Fantasy Island, you're like, I'm out. Do you not play at all? You don't do any fantasy?
I used to run a league with my friends for 10, 12 years. And I'm sure you know as good as anyone that running a league sometimes there's always some sort of controversy or drama that arises. Yeah. You'd think that fantasy football with your friends would be a very simple thing. Yeah. Pay your fee, pick your players, figure out who wins at the end. But there's always something that someone has to debate. And that was fine. We had fun with it. I even finally won like 2 out of 3 years in the back end. But then when I started at CHGO, and you're a pro, man. Like, this is the hard part for me. We're at the studio. We're watching the Bears game at noon. Yeah. You know, I can't watch the other games. I have to be dialed into the Bears game. We're going to be doing a post-game show right afterwards. And so I don't see what's going on with the other games. Then we're doing a post-game show, typically during the 3:00 slate of games. So I don't see anything that's going on with those. And I'll be lucky after this long day to get home for Sunday Night Football to at least see one game where I can relax for a minute. And even at that point, your mind is warped. Yeah. So like, I couldn't do it. And I had to give up the keys to the kingdom. And my friends still are in the league. They get mad at me that I won't join back in, but it's like, they're all sharks. Yeah. I can't get on the waiver wire on Tuesdays fast enough. Whenever some big news hits during the week, I'm always 7 steps behind these guys, because we're all so dialed in to win our league. Yeah. It takes a lot of mental effort. So I just it wasn't fun for me anymore. So the last couple of years I've given it up. Maybe that's the loser in me talking. I don't know.
No, it's smart, because you got to go out and you got to watch. I can't even remember the NFL's product name. This is bad. I'm gonna have to start doing reads for this stuff in a couple of weeks. But what do we get? Fast Pass, Game Pass, whatever the thing is with the NFL. Yeah. Where you can watch the condensed games. Now, obviously, for a lot of us, we're watching the Bears games over and over again. We're watching the all 22s. We're watching this. We're like, especially when we win, you want to go back and watch those games, especially. I use those, and that's how I try to catch up. So when I'm sitting there, we're watching the Bears game in the morning, there's two other games on. Usually the place where we watch these games, there's a Commanders fan and there's a Vikings fan. So those games are always on. So I kind of know what the Vikings and Commanders are all about and what I need to pay attention to. And then you kind of go through and you sort of look, there'll be one or two games where you're like, usually like a Titans game or something. You're like, all right, I don't need to go back and watch that one.
Right.
But like, hey, so Drake London had 8 receptions. So like, okay, let's go watch the Falcons and go do that. But it is tough to keep up. And that's what everybody does now. Like even my friends in some of my most casual leagues are like, yeah, I've been watching games and I watch the condensed game films and I watch all 20. You're like, everybody's getting too sophisticated. You're not going to need me anymore. I
will say though, if you are dialed into fantasy and if I would actually commit, it helps you pay attention to every crevice of the league. And then you start to really be in tune with some of the guys that are on the come up that people don't really necessarily know. The other half of it too, for me as just a fan, you really learn more about the league, the more competitive your team is, because now you're paying attention to the other games because you desperately want X, Y, and Z team to lose. Yeah. And now you're rooting for the team that's playing them. So now you're invested from snap to snap on what they're doing. We kind of went through this a little bit when the Bears were, fighting for a number 1 pick 2 years ago. So now you're paying attention to the 7 teams that could implicate that. So that's kind of where I have to branch my way into what priority things do I need to pay attention to that affect the Bears first and foremost. And if those are enough things, that's how I really get a true understanding of the rest of the landscape of the league. Because the way we do it, hey, I wish I could watch every single game every single week, but we are so dialed into the Chicago Bears. I mean, just a couple weeks ago, we had this guy walk into the CHGO Sports Studios, and I thought he was an intern. And I walked up to him. I was like, hey man, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I was like, I'm Greg. He's like, oh, I'm Alex. I'm like, oh, you interning? He's like, no, I'm Alex Vlasic. I play for the Blackhawks. I was like, well, he just looks so young. I'm like, well, if you don't play for the Bears, it's hard pressed for me to really know who you are. It's not personal. We are so dialed in our own little football bubbles here that's just how it goes. And he was great about it, but that just kind of goes to show you if you don't have a Bears jersey on, you're going to be hard pressed to have my attention.
You're like, yeah, I'm Blackhawks. Is that some sort of rec team? Oh, the NHL. Yeah, you're right. I get where you're coming from though. That is true. How they kind of escape your purview of anything like that. I've noticed that too, as I'm sitting here and I've been working with Jim Rome over the last month and a half of how much NBA and NHL I watched the playoffs. Because usually when my teams are done, I'm like, okay, I'm out. Kings eliminated. See ya. Lakers gone. Adios. Mm-hmm. Now, normally I would have never known who Tyrese Halliburton was or what he was doing I know who he is, but wouldn't have known he was pretty incredible during the playoffs, but you get to know that stuff. Fantasy does that too. You're like, okay, I'm dialed in on everybody. Jadon Blue, let's see what's going on. I can't wait to see him in training camp. I do hope too. I think the NFL is sort of getting to this point of all the games are going to be so spread out that you'll be able to watch more and more, because I looked at the international schedule this year and you're like, gosh, there are so many what will be 8:30 a.m. games in Chicago, 6:30 a.m. in the Southern California area, where you're like, oh man, well, you get a full game there, then you will get the Bears game, then you will get the 3:00 game there and then the night game. And it's like, well, if they ever put 2 games on Monday back to back, and then eventually somebody's going to be like, we should just have a Tuesday afternoon game. Why not? Let's just have a Tuesday afternoon game for teams coming off a bye. It'll be fun. People will watch. People have different schedules now. This is why they should have never let people get back to work, because it was cool when everybody was working from home. It's like, okay, well, now I can sit here and watch a day game and then, still go out there and do my work later on. But that's a story for another day. Wanted to get into this because obviously some of the other shows going on have content that they need to fill. And Good Morning Football had some Packer. I don't know who this guy is. If it's not Josh Jacobs or Jordan Love, I'm like, I don't care. Kyle or Tucker. What's his first name? Kyle Tucker? No. Kyle Tucker's
with the Cubs. He's great.
Tyler Kraft. That's who it is. One of those guys. Kyle Tucker, future Angel, by the way. In any event, this Packer was on GMFB, got a little wind in his jaw. Let's dial this up.
The end of last season, the Bears won in Lambeau, and I don't know if it's gotten back to you, but Caleb Williams, our young quarterback, has said a few times this offseason that he is undefeated in Lambeau Field, and he's pretty pleased with that. What's it like to hear that, and what do you guys do about it?
Hey, man, he got lucky. But
what do you mean?
He got lucky. You know what I'm saying? Make the playoffs.
Tell us more, Rashid.
He doesn't want to. He said he got lucky.
I mean, look.
Hey, he's saying a lot without saying nothing.
Yep.
No, man, that's all I got to say. You know what I'm saying? They got lucky, make the playoffs, and we're going to see him again this year, and we're going to remember he said that.
All right. First of all, Manti Te'o, who I would say is a friend. Like, why are you dying over that? They got lucky. Like they were watching the roast. They're watching Anthony Jeselnik or something, like acting like that was the funniest thing. This is why, and this is probably why I'm not allowed to be on shows like this very often on the NFL Network, because if I would have known a Packer was going to be on, I would be wearing something Bears. And I also I would have no-sold his little comment, and I would have pushed back. And I would have been like, okay, what do you think is luckier? The fact that Caleb Williams twice rallied his team for potential winning drives against the Packers, and you just happened to jump the gun on a field goal block? Or the fact, like, what do you think's the luckiest thing there, sir? Because I feel like the Packers should feel fortunate that they beat Caleb Williams at all.
Yeah. And they should feel fortunate that they did win that game, because if not, they would have went 0-6 in the division.
Yeah.
So you talk about luck, there. I would say I would just be, be thankful that you got that one where you had a little push in the back, to elevate you up to block the Cairo kick, which should be illegal. Thank you very much.
Totally illegal.
Hey, if you stay and be grateful for your win, we'll be over here grateful for ours. And everything that Caleb said was true. He is undefeated in Lambeau Field right now. That's just a factual statement. Now he's over here trying to throw out luck. Okay. We're not saying anybody. You're the one talking about luck. So, hey, Caleb Williams made his own luck and should have been 2-0 against the Packers last year.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I feel like this season for Caleb, one of the unfortunate things, and obviously everything works out for a reason. We're lucky now to have Ben Johnson, and you look back on the Tyreek Stevenson play, and I've said this time and time again, like in the moment, it was awful, but it was really one of the best things to have happen to your team, because it did expose a lot of the flaws and the flaws in the foundation and all that stuff. However, Caleb still rallied the Bears for a win on the road against the Commanders, a team that would eventually go on to the NFC Championship game. Now, all everybody wants to do is celebrate Jaden Daniels for underthrowing the pile and having some knucklehead knock the ball back to his wide receiver. That somehow makes him a great whatever, and that's fine. But Caleb had engineered potential rallies against the Commanders, against the Packers the first time, against the Vikings, against the Lions. He gets no credit for that. And everybody just wants to act like he's a bum. And I'm like, nah, he actually played pretty good. Like, there's a clip of me that I eventually, from this show that I posted on Instagram, where I'm like, I think Caleb Williams is going to do really well this year. And like, you said that last year. And I'm like, yeah, he was good last year. Like, stop acting like he wasn't a good player last year. And I know this is a Packer just talking out of his rear end, but it's like, just admitting that it was luck, like, whatever. Like, hey, like, I don't know. Like, we had to sit here and wear it for years. when Aaron Rodgers was like, I own you, and he was flipping off a grandmother and doing whatever he was doing and crotch chopping in front of a 12-year-old, whatever. We had to wear that and be like, yeah, until we beat them. Like, you could have taken that and been like, you know what? Yeah, like the Packers have had great success against the Bears over the years. They got over on us. We need to go back and rectify that. But no, you had to sit there, be like, look. And then you have the cast of that show acting like it was the funniest thing. And in fact, it is kind of funny because it's just dumb.
Yeah. I mean, well, you know how the media is, you know, the when they go into the podium and somebody says something that's even, you know, slightly trying to be humorous, everybody in the media scrum, it gives them the laugh they're looking for. And then shout out, you know, Kyle Brandt, who's got to try to set this Packer up on a tee. He's like, oh, Caleb said this. What do you think about that? You know what, Kyle? I see what you're doing over there, stirring the pot. That's fine. That's fine because they don't play the Packers till later in the year. Yeah. And when that day comes, by then, Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams will be in their bag, and everyone's going to be looking forward to, again, the Packers went 1-5 last year in the division, and it took a blocked field goal for that to achieve. And so, you know, I think the division for the most part isn't really worried about Green Bay, and I think Green Bay needs to just worry about themselves.
It's funny too, because I would not have tried to set it up with Caleb Williams there. I mean, like, it's just one of the things. This is how I mean, if I was like, hey, if I would have been on that show and they're like, you got to ask this guy a question, I would have been like, hey, I don't know if you noticed, but Caleb Williams has never lost in Lambeau. How do you feel? Like, I wouldn't have been like trying to set it up like Caleb's saying this stuff. Like, I'm not gonna be a knock. You know, I'm gonna be the one who's taking ownership of it and be like, no, I'm telling you, you've never beaten Caleb Williams in Lambeau. How does that taste? I wouldn't have set up Caleb Williams to try to be like, oh, he said it. That's what my 6-year-old does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't like it. I don't care for that at all. I also don't care. I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole too, but like, I don't know. No, I'm not going to go into it tonight because we do have some comments from Ndamukong Suh, one of the great players in NFL history, a great defensive tackle. Even though he played for the Lions, I always appreciated how much he hated Aaron Rodgers, so I was always cool with him and be like, like maybe he stomped on his leg, like it was a Packer, like that. I can't blame him. It's kind of like when your kids smart off. Because my kids have kind of learned, like, if they say like, oh, like if my son just came out and said Aaron Rodgers sucks, I'd be like, you got a point. Right. Don't say that about anything else. Don't let your mother hear you say that, but be careful. But I'm gonna let that one slide. That's how I always felt about Ndamukong Suh. But he had some great comments about Caleb Williams, which I thought were interesting. Suh does a great job as a commentator. I hope to see more of him in the future doing this kind of stuff. Shane, do you mind if we roll that sound, please?
The young man continue to blossom and grow outside of sports. The reason being is because they will soon realize that him being able to take his mind off of football, but also still being able to be focused, will only make him sharper when it comes to playing football at a high level. That's what helped me as an individual. If I didn't have all the other ancillary things that I was doing outside of football, I would have been bored out of my mind sitting in meetings, watching film. But I found a process and oriented myself to be able to complete and be prepared for every single Sunday or Monday whenever we were playing. And then I spent my other time focusing on all these business endeavors that I wanted to be, whether that was sitting with, again, Warren for meetings, or General Atlantic, or Andreessen Horowitz, or Marcy Venture Partners. From a fund perspective, building my own development company over the last 10 years. Those things allowed me to be great in football and play out a long period of time, but also create generational wealth.
Yeah, I like what he's saying, because anytime we see it online, Caleb Williams is at an event, he's doing whatever. Why is he doing this? Why isn't he playing for, like, Tom Brady once appeared in the movie Ted 2. Like, these guys go out and do other things. What did you make of Ndamukong Suh's comments there?
Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, I think perception is like, what kind of player are you? The Kobe Bryant, people point to this obsessive maniac that would stop at nothing to be the best at his craft. And you'd try to show up to the gym at 5 a.m. and he was there at 3 a.m. But like even Kobe Bryant, to your point, had business ventures outside of basketball, even while he was playing. Michael Jordan, who everybody here points in Chicago, who same cut from that same cloth, would do whatever it takes to win. Guess what, guys? He was playing 36 holes of golf at times and, gambling till the middle of the night, with Walter Payton, and then going out and dropping 44 points, that's these guys. But then also, was doing Space Jam in the summer and Nike endeavors before he had even won a championship and stuff. So what I'd say to it is, yes, you can have, you should be having interests outside of your sport, but you have to put in that maniacal, obsessive attention to detail, stop at nothing to be the best at what you want to be in anything that you sink your teeth into, anything that you get your hands in. Now you have to go all out, and that starts none of the success. Space Jam isn't a good movie if Michael Jordan isn't a great player. The Nike brand isn't what it is today if Michael Jordan isn't a great player. All the businesses that Tom Brady put himself into, those businesses don't work the same if you're not perfecting your craft as a football player. So yes, get your hands in all these other things. But the number one thing that's going to feed and turn the wheel of all those other businesses is that you're great at your job. And, Ndamukong Suh's, talks about that. Hey, I did all these other things. But if you weren't great at what you did on the football field, it would have been harder to continue to open those doors for yourself.
No, 100%. And I agree with that. And as long as Caleb comes in focused, ready to go, if Ben Johnson doesn't have a problem with it, you shouldn't as well. And yeah, so at this point of the show, I was going to open it up for comments, and I'm sitting here reading the comments. How is it every week that it's always a big debate about the Detroit Lions? Like, it's always about like, hey, the Lions are this, the Lions that. Jared Goff is good.
Right, because there's two Lions guys that go in every chat and then just make they like bait the chat into talking about Lions the whole time. But it's hard. It's hard to ignore those people. I get it.
Unite to bash the Packers and then go out of it that way. I was doing this thing with Jim Rome the other day, and we're talking about the Jets. Tanner Engstrom is whenever you talk about Ben Johnson leaving, and I know that I think Tanner Engstrom is another huge loss for the Lions. When I look at the Lions this year, and this will be all we're going to talk about the Lions before we get out of here, when you look at what the Lions have lost with both Ben Johnson, with Tanner Engstrom, who to me, if the Jets go out there and have a decent type season, he'll be one of those guys who's thought of as a potential head coaching candidate because he's got that geeky white guy look, like, oh, this is what everybody loves nowadays. Like, yeah, this little dork coming in and running an offense type of thing. Mm-hmm. And with the, losing Frank Ragnow and all that stuff, like, do you think, like, I don't know, like, I don't want to be a hater and I don't want to sit here and just diminish Jared Goff, but I'm like, I don't know, guys, the Lions, I think you guys should worry about yourselves instead of coming in here and worrying about what's going on in the Bears chat.
Yeah. I mean, not only obviously lost Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, defensive line coach Terrell Williams, wide receivers coach Antoine Randall, who's now the assistant head coach here in Chicago. Quarterbacks coach JT Barrett left Detroit to come this way. Yeah. So a lot of different guys, and that's really going to be a huge test. You mentioned Frank Ragnow. They also lost the other guard who I was kind of thinking maybe the Bears might take a look at this offseason. So they lost one of their guards. They lost their center. Now they're bringing in a rookie. You're shuffling the deck on your interior offensive line. You're shuffling the deck in a major way on your coaching staff. Did you get a chance to watch any of season 2 of Quarterback on Netflix yet, Adam?
Dude, I told you I've been watching Band of Brothers in the Pacific. Right. I did not. I'm like Ndamukong Suh was talking about. Like, there's a stretch of time where I sort of try to check out as much as possible on the NFL. I will probably watch Quarterback this weekend because I do selfishly want to see it for Ben Johnson.
It's very good. It's very good. You get at least for a Bears fans, perspective. I could have used more Ben Johnson content. There's certainly enough of it in there, but you do get to see how that Lions locker room operates, and Jared Goff, the way he operates in the huddle, behind the scenes, prep through the week, on game day before they even kick the ball off, and all those things that kind of factor in how Ben Johnson helped work that locker room. And you do see a lot of how Dan Campbell did have a big influence on the aggressiveness and the mindset of their offense as well. And I do think that has to be taken into consideration of how much of that is Ben Johnson going to bring over here into Chicago, because we certainly understand what Ben Johnson did for that offense, but we don't, in doing so, let's not be like Lions fans. We're not going to sell short the impact Dan Campbell also had on that as well. Let's give credit where credit is due. They're worthy of it. But I do think that shows, like where you talk about the Lions coaching staff and everything. I think it really did lend some perspective on how they've built that thing for 4 years and how there is some things that are going to take time, but you also see what Ben Johnson's requirements are for a quarterback. You see how Jared Goff maneuvers through all of that and the responsibilities a quarterback has to have within that system, and the challenge that Caleb Williams will have going forward. So I do think it's worth watching. And then I just skipped through the Joe Burrow and Kirk Cousins stuff, because I was just dialed into what can I learn from the Lions culture that's going to come this way. So it's worthy of a watch for sure. And it's entertaining as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go check that out pretty soon. I got to finish Ted Lasso finally. I've been saving the final episode because I didn't want it to end, but I'll probably have to see it too, especially as AYSO Nationals kick off for me next week. I do want to get to one question though before we get out of here. The Dirty Dog asked a question about the second round holdouts, and the reason I bring this up is because on your show, Adam Johns was on earlier today talking about the second round holdouts. What is the update on that? Is this something that Bears fans need to be concerned about?
Well, it's certainly going to continue to be monitored. There's 2 rookies right now that have in the second round that have been signed to guaranteed contracts. So that's kind of created this trickle down effect, because typically second round picks for teams don't get fully guaranteed contracts. Now it seems like the players are trying to pressure the teams into doing that. The longer they wait, the longer everyone stays on one side of the picket line, maybe the more they can convince the rest of the league to give into this. The reason it's a big concern for the Bears is of course, the Bears through this year of how this is going, the Bears have 3 second round picks,
right? And
one of which we're kind of rooting for to potentially be the starting left tackle of this team. So, it's going to be something to monitor. I don't think we hit the panic button quite yet when it comes to this. The way Hogue kind of explained it this morning is he thinks maybe it'll trickle down backwards instead of like the 37th, 38th, and 39th that's getting to Luther Burden, that it actually would start at the back end of the second round as guys kind of give in, because it's all about leverage play. What players have more on the line the longer they wait? And you point out the second round pick for the New Orleans Saints, Shuck, and his opportunity to be the quarterback one of the Saints. Well, how long do you really want to wait out? How long do you want to stay on that side of the line with the rest of your classmates, but lose an opportunity to potentially be the starting quarterback? Same with Ozzie Trapillo, right? How long do you want to wait out? Because you want that guaranteed money to protect yourself, and you want to wait out because the rest of the second rounders are too in solidarity, but you could be, hurting your chances of being the starting left tackle for the Bears. And, maybe, hey, you never know. It's a competitive league. Karan Amagaji goes and takes that job. Maybe you never get an opportunity to get it, right? So I think those are some of the things that some of these players have to weigh. But at the same time, I think we just have to continue to let the process play out. You already do have a holdout with the Chargers and Trey Harris, because they reported to camp earlier than I think every other team in the league.
Right.
So he wasn't quite ready to agree to whatever terms they have. You also have the Quinshon Judkins situation that's going on, where he's got some legal troubles that he's facing. And how does that affect his guaranteed money? And how does that trickle down affect the players that are in his bracket range of where he was drafted? So I do think that there's some moving parts to this. that have to be considered, but I also think that we just kind of have to wait another 5-6 days before it's something that I think is going to be like a top storyline issue that you'll see on all the major outlets.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out because, again, as we talked about at the beginning of the show, in case you missed it, it's like, the NFL kind of erased a huge problem when everybody in the first round was slotted and you're like, listen, you're getting what you're getting. There's not much wiggle room for us, but now these second round players, and honestly, we're rooting for the players. So we want the players to be paid because the NFLPA has really sold them out for years. So it'd be nice for them to be on the winning side for a change. And we do want to see the Bears eventually on the winning side as well. So I do want to wrap that right there because, listen, it's the off season. We're going to have a long time to go. We want to tell everybody we appreciate everybody stepping in here and having a good time.
Except for Jimmy Hoffa in the chat. We don't appreciate him.
No, that guy sucks. But everybody else.
I thought they buried Jimmy Hoffa.
I did. Yeah. No, he's still alive.
Unfortunately, he's in our chat. And then there was another guy in the chat, City of Hertz, who really wanted you to know that he's a huge fan. And if you didn't read it, he was going to be upset. So I read it for him. There you go, City of Hertz.
Oh my gosh, City. I'm so sorry. That was my fault. I'm looking at all this stuff.
I got you.
Jay Bush has been all over the place, and the Dirty Dog. The Dirty Dog. Oh, I do know that there's going to be a season 4 of Ted Lasso. That's part of the reason why I got to sit here and start finishing that last episode. Oh, I don't want it to end. I just love it so much. One of my favorite shows of all time. I think like we ranked it on CHGO one time where I was talking about my favorite sitcoms, or maybe it was the Jim Rome show. One of them. It's top. Scrubs being my favorite. Ted Lasso might be my second favorite. Both of them being Bill Lawrence shows. So I should put Spin City on there as well. But anyways, thank you so much for being here. Greg, thank you. We will see you next week.
Yeah, I'll see you next Wednesday. That means that'll be a day after Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles speak. Yeah. That'll also be the first closed practice. Right. So I won't be invited to that affair, but I'll let you know what I hear about it.
Okay. We might be on later next week too. Cause I'm gonna, like I said, the AYSO stuff is starting where my team's in nationals, Team Fearless, the one Travis Kelce shouted out at the Super Bowl. It was like the Super Bowl. That was so long ago. I'm like, yeah, bro, we've been going since August. This should be it. This is the last, speaking of like stuff, this is the last time Team Fearless will be playing because some of these girls will be going on to be playing for a different team. My daughter and a couple other girls will stick with me. We'll go back to being the Red Lightning, which we're looking forward to. But in any event, thank you so much. I know people are like, we don't care, Rank. You get it all here with us. We hold no punches back. But in any event, thank you so much. Shane, just go ahead and play us out. Bear down, everybody.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.